Welcome to Conversations in a Vintage Shop, a podcast from behind my counter between customers. Join me while I sit behind my retail counter and just have a conversation with you, or with myself. While I look out the window, observe what I see, things that are happening in the store today, throughout the week, and just fun little stories that I have from my time as a business owner. This is something that you find interesting, then keep listening, and I appreciate you. Hey everyone, thank you so much for hopping back here and joining me for episode 3, season 2 of Conversations in a Vintage Shop. And I'm not going to sit here and talk your head off. I want to hop right into part 2 of our interview with the amazing Paige Victoria. So please sit back and enjoy. And I'm going to shut up now. All right. So one of the things that you had talked about, and this was another thing that had really stuck out when you had done your talk, and that was when you became really hard on yourself. And there was one thing in particular you had said that really struck me. And that was you thought you were trying to humble yourself, but really you were becoming that toxic person in your life.
Yep. I was being very harmful to myself. It's even something that I still struggle with, is finding the balance between holding myself accountable for things and then actually talking crap to myself, or actually making myself feel like crap. And I didn't even realize I was doing that to myself for a very long time. I'm in this stage in my sobriety, I think too, or in my life in general, to where I'm I want to hold myself accountable for things, because I really am out here trying to be an honest and genuine person to everyone that I love to be around me, because I want more people to be like that. I want more people to think that it's cool to be like that. Yeah. So I want to be more like that. And I have such a past. I have such a traumatized past to where I'm sometimes I'll be like, all these freaking bad things just happen. Are you that good of a person? Do you? And it's I have to check myself when I start doing that to myself. Or for the smallest things, something will happen and I'll be like, oh, great, Paige, And to me, I conditioned myself to hold myself accountable so much to where it was very toxic and harmful in my own mind, And I started saying some of these things out loud to where I'll do something that's kind of a little ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, Paige, you're just so stupid. Oh, why would you you know better, you're just being so dumb. And I've said it out loud, not thinking. And then other people would be like, no, whoa. Why are you talking to yourself like that? And I'm like, whoa. Why am I talking to myself like that? I didn't even realize really that I was being so harmful to myself until people started pointing it out. Why are you so hard on yourself, Paige? You are really XYZ. Why are you treating yourself like elemental P? And I'm I didn't even realize I was doing that. I always said I wanted, humility means a lot to me. Even in our culture in a whole, humility it means a lot to be humble, and to have that. It's very important for us to be that way. And just not even just cultural wise, just me personally, I never wanted to get a big head, because I knew it was completely possible when you're in an industry like modeling. And I always wanted to be the model that was respected for her talent, for her business, for her ability, and not just because I was pretty, not just because I'm physically attractive or anything like that, because that's what a lot of models. And I was like, no, I don't want to be thirsted over. I don't want to be wanted by every single man. I want to be respected. I want to be respected, and I want to be taken seriously. And I'm doing this for a bigger reason than just to have men lust over me.
Yeah.
And that's the part of it that I actually hate. I actually really, really hate it. But so while I'm over here trying to be Miss Humbelina, I was hurting myself.
Yeah.
So we're finding now that I realize it, a lot of it is like when you finally get that aha moment and you realize something, especially something like that, now you're aware. So now is where you can start holding yourself accountable to be nicer to yourself. Well, me anyways, to where I could be a lot nicer. But a lot of that came from like when you are in this industry, especially like when you're with an agent too, like you kind of get picked apart about things, about certain things you wear. If you try a new style, you are told you're not supposed to do that, or it's XYZ. And man, you walk into a room of like a shoot or something like that, and instantly women are picking each other apart. They'll compliment you, oh, great jacket, and then in the next like second, like, oh, your skin is really dry today, like why you didn't moisturize, like stupid stuff like that. It happens a lot. You get picked apart in this world. So if I wouldn't suggest like anyone who has never done anything like this, who's having like mental health problems, probably just wait a minute.
Yeah.
Probably just wait a minute, because you do get picked apart. Your outfit is to this, your outfit is to that. You look like this, you look like that. Why is your hair like this? Why isn't it like this? Why? And it can be a lot.
Yeah.
And that alone, just you can be a perfectly mentally healthy person and then have that happen to you every time you go to work. You're gonna start feeling like crap, you know? So the biggest blessing is that this profound self-awareness that I have now. Now that I've figured things out, I can hold myself accountable, I think, in a little bit more healthier way, you know?
Well, and it's interesting, you know, you say that because that was another story. And this was, I think, after the talk, when a lot of us were just kind of chatting and talking about other things you had mentioned, when I believe you were in London. And was it a go-see you were on, or was it a shoot where there was a model, a male model that was like,
yes.
And that please, can you please tell that story?
Okay, I would love to tell that, because I love that story. So when we were in London, we got to go, we were there for about 7 days, about a week or so, maybe a little less than that. But so we had a main hub. We had like this main house that all the models would go to when we get our hair and makeup done. And after we get our hair and makeup done, we were set up in groups. So there's either groups of 2 or groups of 3 models, because there was a lot of models doing this. So we get our hair and makeup done, and we get sent out to a location out in London. So we had to take the tube train or Uber or whatever, wherever we want to go. Which that was freaking very cool. I was a living, working model in London, and that was really cool. But the group that I got in, I was with my good friend Nick, who is from here, and he was in the agency at the time too. And we got paired with this guy. He was from London, or what? He was from like the Ukraine. He was like Ukrainian, but he had been living in London and stuff like that. Now, this man, he was like maybe, and I'm not over exaggerating, he was like 4, oh man, I'm gonna give him a little credit. He might have been like 4'8" or something, barely pushing 5 foot, not even like close to pushing 5 foot. But the confidence that this man had, he might as well been 8 foot tall. Like, he was amazing. So he wanted to model. He got to be a part of it, and he had done some shoots, because he really does photography. He does photography, and he photographs beautifully. He's a beautiful human. He's just really short.
Yeah.
And so an agent that was there basically said, like, I would never sign you not you barely reach 5 foot. Like, who's going to sign you? I would never sign you. Like, you're great and all, but like.
Kind of that backhanded compliment.
100%. Oh, 100%, you know? And what was cool about that, even though that happened, he literally like went, and like rolled it off his shoulders. He did not care. I think that's a challenge he's been faced with, but he wanted this. He knew he could do it. He knows what he's capable of. Maybe he might not be on New York Fashion Week, but this, you can't be a model because you're not, this is dead. It is dead. It is dead, 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 because you can be a model and do anything. You might not be on a New York Fashion Week stage, walking on the stage, but you could work for a New York company. Like, you know what I mean? Like that people saying, I'm just have never sat well with people saying you can't do anything because of a personal trait, because of like, you know, that just never sat okay with me. So to see him just be like, whatever, we continued with the thing. He killed his pictures. He's still out in London right now working as a model, getting bookings, doing photo shoots, doing all this stuff. And he's a little 5 or 4 foot whatever man, all the confidence in the world, knows that he can. So he keeps doing it. Like he kept doing, he is a beautiful soul, such an inspiration. He did not care. And that was like, it reminded me a lot of like, too, of how I got here, you know, like, I'm too old. You're too old. Yeah. You're too old. You're too old to be in fashion. Well, I walked in New York Fashion Week with the age that I was told that I was too old. And when I went and met agencies out in New York, they were interested in me, but there was an issue, and it was not my age. The issue was my tattoos. Oh. Yeah. There was an agency that was very interested in me. They didn't like that I was, okay, listen to this, is my experience. So this is what it looks like when you go into a go-see. You get picked apart. So I walked in there, and you stand in the middle of the room, and they literally have people circling you, checking you out. And they looked at me and they're like, you're supposed to be tanner, aren't you? Like, you have the ability to be more tan. And I started laughing, and I was like, yeah, it's the winter time. I'm not very dark in the winter time like most people. And they're like, oh, okay, are you like interested, or do you like go in the tanning beds? And I'm like, no, it's very bad for my skin. I don't go in tanning bed because I'm naturally melanated anyways. You know, I'm just pale in the wintertime. It's fine. But they were asking me like all these questions, and I'm answering their questions. They also asked me to see all of my tattoos. And I have these 2 bigger tattoos on my waist, and I did get them as a rebellious child, so not the prettiest things in the world. I hadn't gotten no because of yet. So this was the time. So they seen them, and they're like, oh, if it were a little smaller, we could possibly work with them, but no, we just don't want to. Even though they say like it is like the day and age of tattoos, and tattoos are more acceptable, for some people they're still very much so not, especially in the modeling world, because they want a clean canvas. They want to do, what I found out for a lot of those people is they literally do want you to be pretty close to perfect, so they can do as least editing as possible. And I found out why they want it that way, because it saves them money. Yeah. It's not for any other reason besides it saves them money. You know, it's crazy wild. So my issue for them was my tattoos, and I wasn't quite dark enough for them.
Did you almost feel like there was an undercurrent of you're not native enough?
Not in New York, not in that. I think maybe if that would have happened here, I would have known that it came for that, but not for that agency. I don't think that had anything to do with that per se. I think you know what, maybe. Now that I think about it, maybe, but it was more so they were just like upset that I wasn't brown all year round. I was like, I'm not black. I'm native. Natives, we change with the season. So we are not all dark all the time. They don't understand. So they don't understand, or that they didn't like the fact that I wasn't willing to go into a tanning bed for them. You know what I mean? It's small things. So I lost opportunities because I didn't want to go in a tanning bed and fake bake. Like, you know what I mean? It's just so you get picked apart. You're not enough for some people, but it's not even that you're not enough. It's you're just not what they want.
Yeah.
You have to learn to kind of decipher that, because you can some of it can be personal. Like, I think stuff that happens in like the North Dakota area gets a little bit more racy and personal when it comes to like Native American things. But in New York, that was just we want this demographic and you don't look like it, so see you later. It's very much so just like that out there, and they're pleasant enough about it. They're not like, oh well, we think you're because you don't match it. They're just like, you just don't match it. Like, you know, if you ever change your mind, you can go ahead and give us a holler. If you, you know what I mean? That's kind of how it went. And you just got to find out. And plus now as being a freelance model, you don't want to sign to just anyone. I'm telling you right now, to my queens out there that are males that want to go model, you don't just sign to anyone. Take my freaking word. Do your research. Do your research behind agencies and really find out if you want to be a part of what they are about. Really freaking look into it. No one told me that. I thought that was my only option. You don't get to do anything unless you're signed with an agent, is what I thought. Wrong. 110% wrong. And you do not want to just be under anybody's name. No. So, take that into consideration. The way of freelancing is so real now. And we have access to this information very accessibly because of the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other freelance models out there that have tips and tricks and websites to where you can book yourself, and like, we can learn to do anything on our own nowadays because of that. And this is also part of it. Like, this is 100% part of it. If you are looking into going and modeling, you guys do not just sign to the first person.
Or the only person.
Or the only person. Don't do it. I did it, so I can tell you guys that you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. But if you don't have anyone to mentor you, you know, then it really does seem, it really was my only option. So I can understand that. But like I said, I'm here to tell you. Doing it on your own is like 100% possible. If you don't already have like a name as a model, it might be a little bit more challenging. But honestly, if it's not something that you want to really work hard on, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's not a passion or something that you can see yourself doing for a long term time, then why are you doing it? If it's just for fun, then go ahead and do whatever you want. Then go ahead and sign, or go ahead and do whatever. Like, that's fine. But if it's something you want to do for real and it's passionate, you have to work hard at it. And it's possible. So I'm here to tell you that it's so possible. And I found that with like, it's the same in like the music industry. Like, people think that if you're in the music industry and you just get signed to a label that you made it. Wrong. Like, they like to make you think that. Agencies want you to like think that. Labels want you to think that you need them. But there is no agency without no talent. There is nothing without no talent. They need you. They really do. They need talent. They need you. And that's why, like, you'll see a lot of musicians now, they freelance too. They do their own thing because we're starting to realize our values as individuals. And when you get put into like, you get put into an agency or anything like that, then you're no longer an individual. You are theirs. You do whatever. You're in the pod. You're in the whole thing. You're no longer an individual anymore. You really do. You can lose your identity within those things. That's why freelance and entrepreneurship and owning your own business is the wave, because we figured it out. Because we are starting to figure it out. That stuff is not necessary. Now, I'm not saying you don't ever want to sign to anything. If it makes sense. For who you are and what you want to do in the long run, then do it. Absolutely. But make sure things make sense and not just, I'm going to do this because it's the only one.
Exactly.
Or it's my only option. Weigh your options. And absolutely anything you do, weigh the options. Think about it.
And that's one of the things that I love hearing you talk about, because you've also been super upfront with, you learned a lot from your time in an agency and you had great opportunities, but you also knew your worth and you knew you could get more than what you were currently receiving.
Exactly. It just like it wasn't matching up with the direction I wanted things to go. It was not matching up anymore. Like, I got my development that they offered and I took advantage of. I got my development, I got my experience, I got my know-how, I got all of that from there. So it was like, it was not all for nothing. It was a very vital part of me starting anything. But I did that.
Yeah.
I did that because there's a lot of people that are signed under someone and they don't do anything. They don't put in their dues. They just sit and wait, or they are more financially connected to someone somehow, so they get more opportunities that way. And like, it's just a lot. There's just a lot behind all of that. And I got everything. I went as far as I could with that, as far as I could go within that area of my life, within like the agency. That's as far as I could go with how I wanted my future to look like, with how I wanted to keep going. It did not match up anymore. And if I would have known what I know now about freelance, I probably would have been doing it on my own the entire time. But I didn't know, nor did I know anybody else. So it was vital and necessary, and it helped me see things that I needed to see. There's things I needed to experience that I needed to see to continue to go, and hopefully help my youth behind me to have to avoid some of these things, or at least know how to carry themselves in these situations, I guess.
Well, and that's why it's amazing that you're mentoring and how you're trying to be that person for people, but you're not in it for money. You're not doing. You're in it because you've been through it. You care. And
exactly.
And how's that been for you? How's that look to you?
Oh, that has been. Oh, it's been so cool because I can. This one girl particularly that I've been mentoring, and it literally is just that. I sit down with her at coffee and we just talk. She just tells me about what she wants and what she has been doing. And I always tell her what I've done because I can't speak on anything else besides that, what I know. So I tell her what worked for me.
Yep.
This is what worked for me. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to work for the next person or the person after that. You kind of have to find that. But if they at least have an idea of how to go about something, okay, so she handled it this way, I need to handle it that way too. Or I'd like to go about it this way. Like, you know what? I'm giving someone a little bit more of an idea of what things look like instead of I literally just dived in. I knew nothing. And I feel like a lot of my passion got taken advantage of too, because I didn't know anything. I was willing to do everything. I'll show up to everything because I want to do this so bad. So like when it comes, like it gets really tricky when money gets involved. Like, you know, it gets really tricky when money gets involved. So I've definitely I made more money as a freelance model than I ever did signed under somebody. So there's that. And that's just facts. That's just full facts. And because someone gets a cut when you are signed under someone. So when I mentor and when I'm talking to her, it's we're just talking. That's like a little sis, big sis relationship. The only thing that I gain is to be extremely proud of the girl because she did these few little things that I told her that I did that was helpful for my social media presence and things like that. She did it that day. She made a few changes the way she wanted to. And the next day she hit me up. She was like, I have 2 bookings. And I'm like, no way. She's like, no, I'm serious. Like, I have 2 bookings. And I'm like, that was confirmation to me that my advice and my life experience does have some value behind it. And that made me happy because I don't want to be out here just talking. Like, I want to actually be helping. I want to actually help. And man, I helped someone Like even just, and now she's out here, like I haven't had a conversation with her since, but she's out here putting in all the work on her own. And that's all her. That is all her. Like I went through it and I gave her a few advices. I just like explained about my story, and now she's out here doing the work, putting in work and getting booked. And she's freelance. Like she's freelance. She's like, I want to do it your way. I want to do it that way. I want to do it that way. And I'm like, okay, so here's how I did it. Here's how I did it.
Yeah.
Here's my story. Take from that what you can and do it your way. And that's the one thing, like, I hate the gatekeeping of like this generation, or I think that's just always, but to where it's like, you have to pay me for this information.
Yeah.
Like I got this far in my career, so I'm gonna start a class and start charging people for this information. That shit is not okay. Especially as like an Indigenous woman, like that was encouraged in like the agency to be like, get some type of payment for being some type of whatever motivational speaker, mentor, or teaching someone how to runway walk. Oh, you should be getting paid for all of that. And granted, okay, yeah, there's coaches for those things, but I didn't go to school for any of that. So why should I get paid for that? I have life experience that I can pass on to my little queen below me, like, or coming up next to me. What? I'm supposed to charge her? That shit never sat okay with me. So I'm like, I'm very grateful to have learned the things that I learned to where I can help them.
Yeah.
And just genuinely help them. Period. There's nothing behind it. Just help them. I didn't have that. And I think that's why I went through what I went through is to do that. So that's been one of the most rewarding things is that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so nuts to see like your advice work. It's like, what? Wow.
And is the mentorship that you're doing, is that something that you see expanding on? Like not a program in the sense of, like you said, people pay or whatever, but if there are people out there, especially who are listening, who want you to mentor them, is that something you've ever thought about? Of like expanding your I don't know how mentee, like, is that like, I don't know what you call that. I don't know.
But. Like, I mean, I don't know how to go about it. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, people will do like masterclass, and I've been told by some pretty great people that I should do things like that. Like, you should do a masterclass of the how-tos of like modeling and stuff like that. But like, I ran into other people that did stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't have money for this information. I'm broke as hell. Like, I don't have the money for this information. Can you please just help me?
Yeah.
Like, like, please just help me. And it never happened. So, that one's straight. Like, I don't know how I can do it on a vast scale without like I don't want to hurt people's pockets just for some life advice, personal life experience advice, you know. So I don't know what that's gonna look like. I've got invited to speak at a few different schools, so that's gonna be really cool. That maybe, because I believe in planting seeds, even if like you feel like these people are not listening to you, they are getting some of it. You're planting seeds. Something might happen up in their life, like way later down in the life, and they'll be like, oh, I remember that woman from that thing who said this, and this is going into play right now, like da-da-da, like aha. And I believe that can happen. So I think that would be really cool to do like more speakings at schools and stuff like that, talking to our youth. I would really love to do more of that. I mean, I believe in like, I want to make money, of course, off of my career. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but I don't want to benefit off of people's uneducated. I don't want to benefit off of people's like not knowing.
Sure, like they're inexperienced.
They're inexperienced. Yeah, like that's not okay with me. Like, you know, like if someone wants to pay me to go speak at a big thing, that's a different story. Like, you know what I mean? It's different than just like, oh, I'm having my own personal class and it costs this much for you to hear my story. Like, no. You know, so that's when my humility becomes a little bit of a challenge for me, because it's like, I need to make money to survive out here, you know, but at the same time, I'm not going to do it in that way. So if I'm like struggling a little bit longer financially because I'm hard-headed in that way, then so be it. Then so freaking be it. But honestly, just right now, like, if you have I'm such an open book. Like, anyone who's ever like messaged me and they want to talk about it, I'm like, let's set something up. Or you can talk to me right here on a message. What's your question? If not, or like, let's go have coffee and let's just talk, you know? So for the future, I don't know what mentoring is going to look like, because right now it's just very personal. Like, you know, it's just, I'm helping the people who are asking. I'm not putting out there like, hey, I can help you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm here. I'm here to mentor, to help if anyone thinks that my information can benefit them. It's kind of just that simple right now. But for the future, I'm not sure what that's going to look like at all. I'd love to do more of it, but it gets a little tricky. Like I said, my morals, man, they be getting in the way sometimes.
Well, but I mean, but it's one of those concepts where a lot of us aren't used to, and you had spoken about gatekeeping, but not gatekeeping it to people who can afford it.
Yeah.
And because how many kids out there, and no matter what industry you're in, if they can't afford an opportunity, I mean, how many people out there could be amazing hockey players, amazing singers, amazing models, but their families can't afford to put them in.
Can't afford it. That is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
That's why, like, people don't understand, like, when you start any career, you start a business, you put your own into it at the beginning. You put your own money into all of that. When you're like at the beginning of my modeling career, I put in a lot of money. I didn't get paid right away, or barely, even the whole time I was in there. Like, you know what I mean? There is a lot of sacrificing to get anything like this up and running. Anything, whether it's a business or a career of any sorts. Like, you have to do that with college. You have to put up a ton of money before you can actually make the money.
Yep.
And that's just how it goes. That's just the way the cookie crumbles in every situation, you know? What was I want to make sure I answered it. What was it?
I was more of just like a statement, really. Okay. That like you were providing an opportunity for people that it's not income based.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's where we were. Yeah. No, that's the other thing. Like, I know how challenging it is to get started with your dreams and not have any money, because you need money to do a lot of these things, to get anything started. And, I know what that looks like, and that's why I worked 100 jobs at the very beginning of my career to be able to afford all of these things. And it's a lifestyle too. Like, I was expected to eat, breathe, and sleep model, so I had to look like it all the time. So like my gym membership, my clothes that I wore, like all this stuff, I had this weird expectation from others that I had to be a certain way 24/7. That wasn't even me, like, you know. And so I spent a lot of money on shit I didn't even need to, that I didn't need, like, really. But that's where, like, something I can slide in with, like, when I'm talking to people who are starting this out, it's like we talked about before, the disease of wanting more. Yeah. We all have that disease of where we think we need more or want more. And it's really, when we have everything we need, when we have everything we actually need, we have the minimum if you have the minimum of what you need to get something started, do it. Then you have everything you need. It doesn't even matter if it's a little rank or outdated or whatever it is. If you have it, you use it. And, we don't need more sometimes. We think we do, but we don't. Like, for example, I would say like, I can't get new headshots because I don't have money to like work with a photographer or whatever. And it's like, but there's I have an iPhone. I have a really nice iPhone, right? And there's tons of like, videos and stuff out there that show you how to do pretty freaking awesome portraits just with your phone.
It's amazing.
So if you so if you need a simple headshot for an audition and all they're asking for you is a headshot and a body shot, girl, you can do that yourself. I thought I needed more for these things, but oh my gosh, you don't. I promise you have enough. Like the bare minimum will get you by, and then you can get everything else you needed as you're going. But until then, like the disease of wanting more is where it's like super tricky. Like we'll have a perfectly good running car, but it's not a new car. So we're like, oh, I need a new car. But why do you need a new car? You want a new car. Your car is perfect. That's the disease of wanting more. You do not need that. You want it, yes. But if I had it, I could do X, Y, Z. But wait. Couldn't you do X, Y, Z with the car that you have right now? Yeah, it'd just be better if da-da-da-da-da. Like, whoa. But you can still do X, Y, Z, right? Yeah. Okay, then you got everything you need. You know, and that's something that I had to learn while going, and I still have to check myself on that. And I'm like making every excuse in the book to not do something. Then I'm like, wait, you have everything you need to do this. You're making excuses at that, and that's where the holding yourself accountable part really. We don't do that enough.
No.
Be careful because you can end up being very toxic to yourself.
Exactly.
Because I did that. But like we really do. I think if we did that more, like if we decided to start looking at ourselves as we are imperfect humans, every single one of us, and ourselves included, some of us have too big of egos to ever be wrong.
Yep.
To ever be wrong, to ever say sorry genuinely, to ever do anything. And that's where a lot of this hate and mental health and all this stuff comes, is because we want to hold everyone else accountable, but are we doing that ourselves? Are we apologizing when we're out of pocket? Are we making those changes to not treat someone like that again? Are we holding ourselves accountable when we can't handle something? Instead of like, alcohol is a big thing. Like a lot of people cannot handle their alcohol. And it's so normalized now. So people will just be like, oh, well, it's just part of drinking. Like, no, if you are, anytime you drink and you're treating people like crap, you shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
It's literally that simple. It is that simple. If you're doing something and you're not being a good person in that area, that's on you. If you are waking up the next day after being drunk or whatever, and somebody's telling you like, you did this to me, you did XYZ to me, and you said this to me, and you're using the excuses like, oh, well, it just, I was drunk. You have a problem. Like, there's probably a problem there if it happens every single time.
Exactly.
And that's just one example of like how we do that. We do not hold ourselves accountable. We will do something not right, and we will have every excuse instead of just being like, man, I did that. I'm so sorry. I was not right in that situation. If we could do more of holding each other, ourselves as persons accountable, there would be less hate, I think, among all of us.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? People out here want to blame everybody else for everything. Like, we all have a sad story. All of us have trauma. All of us had something. So are we going to use that for good? Or are we going to use that as a crutch and hurt other people along the way? Hurt people. But when you start becoming aware of it, then you're the issue. You're the problem. And self-awareness is going to save a lot of people, I think. It saved me for sure. But there's always that backlash. Be careful. Be careful, because it can be too hard on yourself. When you really start sitting down and you start healing and you start thinking about everything, not just the things that happened to you, but the things that you did to people when you weren't 100% right in your mind, it gets very hard.
Yep.
And then you can be very toxic to yourself. So that's something we got to be. And I'm just now learning that. But now that I'm here and I'm aware of it, hopefully whoever hears this, you can think about it.
Exactly.
Think about that, because I've never had anyone say that, talk about self-awareness. And I hear hold these people accountable when it comes to a lot of things, a lot of Native American issues, a lot of whatever. Hold these people accountable. well, are you holding you accountable?
Mm-hmm.
Are you being a good person? Are you saying you're sorry? Are you changing your behavior when you hurt somebody? Let's do that first.
Yep.
And then I think then we can go out here and do a lot more of that and make some more changes. But there's too many people in very high positions that are not mentally good people.
Mm-hmm.
And until they realize that, or they take accountability for that, it's just going to be a constant cycle of toxicity in that area.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and one thing I definitely wanted to like end this on was kind of a celebration of like the coolest moments that you've had. Kind of like leaving it on
a high note.
Like, yeah, like, and what your favorite things that you've accomplished have been.
Okay. Yeah. Man, there's a lot. And it's crazy. Like I walked in New York Fashion Week and I worked in London, and people like, those were definitely highlights because those are things that I can never like, I never fathomed doing any of that. Truly, I've never fathomed doing any of that. So those are definitely in my top of things that I have done within my career. But the coolest things that are the absolute coolest things that I've done that hold near and dear to my heart are the things that I've done within my culture. Native fashion is popping off. It's starting to. We have more Indigenous fashion designers, and they are getting so incredibly unique with bringing like modern day Native fashion to the streets. Like, it is so flippin' cool to see that, because I never got to see that as a child. I grew up not seeing not one single Native American on the TV, on the magazine, and anything, unless it was some Natural Geographic thing. And I'm just like, this is not okay. Like, why are we not anywhere? I'm gonna change this. I remember when I was little, I was thinking I wasn't the only one. It's my generation where I see more and more Native Americans out here working, doing modeling, being designers, out here as actors. Like, they're everywhere now. More. So my generation, our generation, was really the generation that was like, done. We are here. Hello. So that has been, to be able to be an Indigenous woman, watch that side, like within my realm, like my fashion realm, to watch that grow, and then now finally be a part of it. I walked the biggest show with the biggest crowd I've ever had was last year in 2021. It's the Santa Fe Indian marketplace in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they have this big fashion show where like the elite designers go, and all of the elite natives of Indian country are there, and I got to be a part of that show, and that's by far one of like my most favorite career-wise like moments, because I was like, finally, like, I felt like I made it. I really did, because a lot of those girls have only worked with Native designers. They've only worked with people in their culture. They are from the res, they've lived there, they've been there, and I'm a city native, so I didn't have a lot of access to a lot of that. And when I got there, I was like, oh, I made it. I really felt like I made it, more than like walking in New York. I felt like I made it, because that was the biggest goal for me, is to show people that we're still freaking here and we belong everywhere. Everywhere. And I never got to do anything to where it was all Native casted like that. So for me personally, that was like and the very artistic things that I've done along the way have been my favorite. Like I've done the wet plate photography, which you have done too. Tell me that's not incredible.
It's such a cool
process. And even the outcome is just like, oh my gosh, it's just so classic and beautiful and and raw. There's no filters. There's no nothing. It's just raw. And I feel like taking pictures in that way, it's the oldest method ever in photography. Wet plate photography is. I worked with a photographer. His name is Shane Beltovix, and I'm sorry, Shane, for saying that wrong. Very hard last name. But he has a natural light studio in Bismarck, and he's been shooting. He has a series, a Northern Native American like wet plate series, where he's going to be shooting over. He's going to be, his goal is 1,000 of Native Americans. And I met him I seen that he was doing that, and he actually reached out to me and told me about his project and what he was doing, and said he asked me if I wanted to be part of it. And I'm like, what? I've only seen that stuff on movies and things like that, you know. So I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. So I got to go there and do it, and I've been at his studio like 3 times now, and I have another shoot with him coming up next month. But that was like one of my favorite things, because like when I started to see the creativity that the art that's in modeling, like you can be a piece of art as a model. You can be more than just a sexy face and some cute ass, a work of art. Oh my gosh. I'm like, yes, I want to be a work of art. No, I don't want to be thirsted for. I want to be a work of art. And he does that. Wet play does that. It makes you a work of art.
And it is interesting because the process, it's not for the faint of heart.
Oh no.
And especially if you're someone who has to have a perfectly filtered photo.
It's tough.
It's not. Right? Like you really, like you said, it's very raw.
It's very raw.
Very historical. And the image is the image. You can't change it.
Nope. It is what it is. And the way he prints too, it goes on like silver.
Yeah, silver collodion, I believe.
Yeah. So unless that sucker breaks, it's never going anywhere. That picture is forever. If it breaks, it's gone. But if it doesn't break, like it's never fading. It's never going anywhere. Like if the museum came tumbling down and your portrait didn't break, like 1,000 years though, they're gonna see your picture.
Exactly.
Like how cool is that? To me, like I love the artsy things behind modeling. Like everyone has their reasons why, and some people like the lifestyle of modeling, the bougie, the way it looks, because it's not really that. Don't let them fool you. Not here in North Dakota. Anyone acting like that here in North Dakota, just anyways, because it's not that here. And I'm not saying that it can't be like that. So it's not like that here. So, but I fell in love with the art, the being able to be a piece of art, to be a part of somebody else's art is just incredible. And I love that you got to do that.
I know.
I love that you got to do that.
And it's so funny because I have sat with, her name is Carrie Janusik here in town. And she had actually learned a couple of things through Shane. I remember telling me that, but then she took some of the things that she learned and she created her own opportunity for it, and she expanded on that.
Yes, that's beautiful.
But it really isn't, like you said, an art form, and each wet plate photographer are their own artists.
They are.
None of them look the same.
No.
It really is amazing. It's like Picasso's or Van Gogh's, or I mean, it's so unique to
Apparently,
that person.
there's only like 1,000 wet plate photographers in the world. Only 1,000 in the world. It's a dying like art form.
Because it's so hard.
Because it's a whole process. It's a whole thing. It's a whole day. Like it is like dang near a whole day for 30 seconds of stillness.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's so crazy. But that's definitely a top highlighted thing in my career, is being able to be a dang work of art, literally. I have a wet plate that's in a museum in Switzerland.
How amazing is that?
Oh, crazy. And I have the magazine. I'll have to come and bring it and show you. But I'm my wet plate's in a German magazine.
How amazing is that?
Unreal. They're getting sent to like places all over the world, and then like he's gonna have his main display of the 1,000 pictures, I think, in like the Bismarck, or at least a portion of it in like the Bismarck museum over there. But last time I checked, he was on like plate like around the 700s, I think. So he's getting real close. He's getting really close. I think he's been at it for a year or two now.
Wow.
Maybe 2. I can't remember for sure. But a lot of the things that I thought was going to be like my top ended up not. Like I thought New York were forever going to be, even though freaking New York was amazing. I had to close that show, by the way.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's an honor for any model to be able to close a show. And it happened last minute. I was in the middle of the line.
Yeah.
And he pulled me out last minute and had me change, and then put me at the very end of the line. And that's when I knew I was closing a New York Fashion Week show. I didn't know until that very second. So that was let me not take anything away from the experience by saying it's not like the but it is the one of them. Like, you know what I mean? Is definitely one of them. So definitely the wet plates, my working with my Indigenous designers and things like that, and the trips that I got to do, traveling that I got to do within it are amazing. My friends that I've made along the way, because there are some very like-minded people within that are there for like the same because they're passionate and they're about the craft. They're about the art behind it, and it's all passion. Like, no money is worried about. We just love to do this. And there's some of like my bestest friends to this day that I met in the agency that felt the same way that I did about everything, and they're off doing their own thing too. So it's like we find our ways, and we find where we're supposed to be if we just keep trying.
Exactly.
The minute that we give up on something, then it's like it is over. It's not over until you give up. There's always more opportunities. There's always different avenues. The only time that it's ever actually over is when you decide that it's over. And I realized that it's only me that can stop this. Whatever train I'm on, I have the ability to stop it and just live a regular life if I wanted to. But I don't want to. I love this. And I've never had a plan or knew that 5-year, 10-year plan. Like, I don't really rock with that because everything changes. You can go ahead and plan all you want, have whatever future you want, but the universe doesn't work like that. You do not get that plan.
Exactly.
You don't. No one ever gets their plan. And they might get something that looks like it. You might get something that looks just like it, but we don't get what we want. We can get something that looks like what we want. But you don't get what you want. That's not real. And I just decided to have a goal of I want to be able to mentor people at some point. I'm here now. Like, you know, that was a goal at one point. Like, I want to be so sure of what I'm doing and know what I'm doing to where I can give helpful advice to people. That was a goal one day, or that was a goal before. And I'm here now to where I can do that. So it's like 5-year, 10-year goals of what you want your life to look like. I'm not with that. I want to do this at some point in my life. I haven't done that. I do want to make more money. How? I haven't figured that out quite yet. But with everything else in my life, I've had faith and it all has worked out. It never looks the way I want it to. So I stopped stressing about that. Yeah. I just put out into the universe what I want. I work towards those goals. What I think is working towards those goals. And the universe gives me something. It's never what I completely asked for, but I get something. Like, you know. So you just got, there's one thing is you can't control this shit. Like, you can't control everything. You have no control. Faith got me very, very far in all of this. Is I believe it's going to work out in a good way because I'm moving in a good way. So
I'm so happy that you were able to come in.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. I love speaking. I love talking with you.
Well, and it's just, it's so amazing listening to you. And again, you're the kind of person that more people should have grown up with. Just to hear your wisdom, and it's like I'm always just in awe when I listen, which is why I wanted you to come on, because I had so many more questions.
Wow.
And it's a privilege to have you here. And we've had definitely an exciting day.
We have. It's been an adventure. We're friends for real now since we went through adventures together.
I mean, once you get locked out of a building together, it's like...
With a tea kettle.
Exactly. With just a tea kettle.
Just a tea kettle. That's all we had.
Well, for anybody who's listening, if they want to keep up with what you're doing... I know you're on Instagram. Where can they find you on Instagram?
So my Instagram name is Paige Victoria 00. I'm on TikTok as well. That's Paige Victoria 2010 is my name on there. And then I also have a Facebook that's very family kind of orientated, but Paige Victoria on Facebook as well. So, yeah, those are all my pages, social media pages, so far. So yeah, you can get a hold of me. The best one is probably Instagram.
Yeah. And I'll link that in the description.
Awesome. Okay.
But thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
And I'm sure we'll have another conversation again.
I would love that. Hopefully, we just need to have we need a shoot.
I know.
Is the next thing.
I know.
Is the next thing. Yes.
We need to plan that.
Yep.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
And even maybe bring back the dress you wore for your first wet plate. Because when you had said it was a work of art, you were literally wearing 24 karat gold.
Oh my gosh. You should tell them that. It was nuts.
It's funny the things that you remember. And that was where like you'd reached out saying that you were going to be doing this wet plate. And if I had anything for you.
Yep.
And there was this nightgown from the late 1950s that I had in my collection. Yeah. And there was always something, it was a Vanity Fair brand and beautiful, like swishy flowy skirt.
Yeah.
It was pink, like bubblegum pink. And it had this gold embossing on the bodice. And I found out that was actually 24 karat gold. And it was a limited line that this.
And she figured that out after she let me borrow it too. That was so crazy. She told me.
Like, oh, and it's one of those.
Hey, by the way.
and isn't it one of those funny things? Like I had seen it at this local vintage shop numerous times when I had gone there, and I kept telling the person working, like, you should do some research on this. This looks, I've never seen anything like it. And they never did. It never sold. So I finally bought it. And that gave me the motivation to really dive into the history. And yeah.
Yeah, found out I was freaking just walking around with gold.
Exactly.
Like, it was so cool.
It was very fitting.
It worked absolutely beautifully with that wet plate too. Like it was so freaking stunning. I loved it. And I treated it, I was like, yo, I was telling my friends that too. I was like, look at this. This is gold, yo. I'm wearing gold. This is crazy. The ones who came with me for the wet plates and stuff, I was like, this is crazy. And everyone was in awe of that dress too. So thank you again for collab. That's why Courtney has collabed with me for all of my wet plates so far.
And it's been so much fun. Maybe we should bring back that nightgown for like another collab shoot.
We should. I think so too. I think we tried to like shoot it once. That dress just has to be captured a certain way. It has to be. And I think we brought it to an event shoot one time, and it was not. It wasn't not shot the way it should have been. So
that can be another topic we talk about, like another episode, like funny things.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
That's a whole other story.
That is a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother ball game. Yeah, people don't think about it that the photographer. You can have a look in mind of how you want something to look like all day long. But if that photographer like doesn't have the same vision as you or doesn't like care about your vision, it's not going to come out the way you want. So that's why I like working with people, like-minded people is very important because you get what you want after that. Or at least open-minded people, because I've done a lot of stuff out of my like, I guess my fashion, like Michelle Ubris, her stuff. I like none of her, anything that she has, like there's nothing in my regular wardrobe that looks like that, but it's so sick. Her styles are so incredible and they're so cool. And it's not something that me personally that I would rock, but I listened to how she wants it to look on me. She didn't want me to smile. She wants me to look like me, like cut somebody's throat. And I'm like, wow, I can do that. So I got to like, even though that wasn't my style, I listened to what she wanted and how she wanted the look to look like with me wearing them. Not how I wanted it to look or how I felt in it, because I'm working for a designer. And it was not in my style realm. I'd never really worn anything like this, but it was so cool and edgy. I almost felt empowering wearing something like that. And because of how she told me she wanted me to look, she told me how she wanted it to look. And I'm like, I can do that. So it is important. Who you work with matters. Who you work with matters. Are they going to listen to you or not? Like I've worked at shoots to where I'd be the only professional model, and I was the only model that showed up on time and had all of her necessities. Because the other models that they asked to show up were just like their friends or cousins, and they're coming a mess and not prepared. And I'm like, this is why professional models are needed and should be more valued, because yeah, there's a million pretty people, but do they know what they're doing?
Exactly.
Can they give you what you want without any hassle? Can they make your vision come alive? Or are they just gonna stand there and be pretty and be like, you know what I mean? So that stuff really does matter.
Well, I think we have another topic.
We
for
do.
next time. I know.
Wow.
So now we're going to have to do this.
Okay. I'm totally down. I'm very down.
Well, thank you so much, Paige.
Yes, thank you for having me
And
again.
You'll be back.
Yay.
I know it. We're gonna do this again.
Okay.
And
I'm
next time
down.
I'll make sure to pack my keys with me.
Yeah, let's have a couple sets of keys ready.
Everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited for everybody to listen and to keep up with you. And again, I'll be the first person in line when you come out with a book eventually.
Yay, maybe one day. Hopefully.
So stay tuned.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really funny listening back on all of these interviews. We had mentioned that before we even started recording the podcast, we had had this really great hour-long conversation. And I remembered that we met up early that day that we recorded. We met up at 11 a.m. at my shop. And after we finished recording, we had another really long conversation, so we didn't end up getting out of here until 5 o'clock. So we were here for 6 hours just talking and having a great time. And again, I listened over all of this interview again, and so many great takeaways that I know I keep thinking about. And it's been almost a week now since we recorded that. And wow, just a lot of the things she has to say are so important. And I really do feel like this can be used in any aspect of life. Again, I thank Paige so much for letting me interview her and being my first guest. What a way to kick it off, right? I love strong, smart, amazing, brilliant women. It's what keeps me motivated. If I'm having a bad day and I can talk to one of my friends who just can put things in perspective and just be that beacon of light to people, I tell you, that means the world. So again, Paige, thank you so much. And thank everybody for listening. And let me know what you think of this episode. I know it's one of my favorites. Stay tuned. We'll be back next Monday with an all-new episode. Until then, have a great week, everybody. Bye.